Hello everyone. Just gonna wait for chat to trickle in, but I believe I should be live. Perhaps I'm live early, which should be a treat for everybody. I'm gonna monitor the live chat just to see if it has worked. Yes, it has. How are you all? Oh, there we go. That's the wrong window. Where are we? Fantastic. So, I thought I'd go live just to discuss the good news today. Also because I haven't done a live stream in a long time, because I've been very busy in the evenings, and now you get to find out why. I've had this stream in mind for a while, but today seems to have been the near perfect day to discuss it. And I'm not known for my optimism. I'm quite the pessimist. Thank you, chat. I can see you all. Thank you for the congratulations. I'll address questions in super chats as we go or towards the end of the stream. But I just had some thoughts. But I'm usually known as a bit of a pessimist. But I do actually think we're going to win. It won't be difficult. It will be difficult, rather. It won't be easy. I don't know in what form, but I think we will. And this is partly why. It's because we have a motivation external to ourselves to accruing expedient wealth or opportunities. It's because we have loved ones who are worthy taking care of depending on us. And now I'm going to have even more loved ones depending on me. It's a quick story about this. Last week, some of you may have seen that I was waiting in accident emergency on the NHS for a very long time. I put a tweet complaining the wait time was 8 hours. And that's because last week, at 11 weeks pregnant, we thought my wife had lost the baby. And a lot of blood, went to the hospital, were yelled at by a foreign female security guard who didn't speak English. We were told to go straight to the front desk because, of course, it was an emergency. This was about midnight. And we were told to go and stand and wait in standing room only area of a hospital that is in a very diverse suburb of London, where there were a lot of drug addicts, prisoners, and people that look like they've just stepped off the first flight here. We were told to stand for about 8 hours, thinking that my wife had miscarried. And we just had to go home. We had to go home, get up the next day, and do it all over again. And it was hell. And we sat in the hospital and we were told it's likely we'd lost the baby. And it wasn't until about 8 or 9 hours later that she had an emergency scan and we saw a baby dancing. And wow, what a relief it was. You know, my family were overjoyed. So we knew we had the 12-week scan booked for today. We went to the hospital. All was going according to plan. Saw the first baby on the ultrasound. Delighted. And then the midwife said, and there's the second. Now somehow, the previous hospital had missed an entire baby. And she didn't understand how they'd done this. But, you know, long wait times and inefficient care and incompetent conclusions, that's the NHS for you, our national religion. Anyway, so I now have 2 children on the way. It's likely going to be a boy and a girl because they're in separate parts of the womb. And turns out that we're winning the demographic war faster than expected. I said to Paul Morland, his pro-natalist nudging is more potent than even he realised. Either that, or it's because I've been drinking my milk and lifting weights and sanding my balls right out where all the neighbours can see. I shouldn't have said that. My parents watch the show. Anyway, clearly, we're not worried about the testosterone drop in the Tomlinson household. I'm surprised it didn't go through my wife like a bullet. If I would have missed and hit the headboard, it would have gone through like xenomorph blood. Anyway, we're looking forward to it. Babies are due in November. So this is excellent news. And the good news just keeps coming. Because on the same day as we got this wonderful bit of news, of course, Great Yarmouth First have swept the local elections, with their candidates getting between 40 and 50% of the vote. All 10 seats have gone to Rupert's party. As well as, and I'll be doing a video about this tomorrow morning that's a bit more compressed and focused purely on the local elections, as well as a bunch of actually patriotic reform candidates won, and, you know, congratulations to them. They're good people. Especially the ones who had hit pieces written about them by Hope Not Hate. They won, but the Boris wave foreign national candidates either got kicked out last minute or didn't win their seats. It's like the age of the spells and incantations of racist and far-right working, the age of pandering to minority communities that are never going to vote for you, and the British people feeling so shy about voting in their interest that they guess they have to vote for the foreigner rather than their own people. It's over. It's over. And this was the energy in the room at Great Yarmouth. I mean, like, these Harrison, Charlie, Lewis. For those of you who don't know, they were basically the grooms at my wedding. They have been some of my closest friends for years. We've helped each other through political and personal difficulties. You know, a couple of years ago, Downs didn't know what he wanted to do in politics. He was a bit lost. He was asking me whether or not he should take this and that opportunity, and I just said, look, hold out, because the right thing will come along. And I think it has for him. Harrison knows, before I met my wife, I was a mess who probably didn't make the best decisions when it came to women. That's one of the reasons I no longer drink. 1, because it's expensive. 2, because I'm getting old and it gives me more headaches. 3, because when I drank, I made some very poor decisions with women. Mea culpa, mea culpa. And Harrison heard me whine a hell of a lot. And Lewis, I mean, basically the same, actually. The poor lads heard me tell far too many stories on long train rides. But they found their calling. They're doing the right thing. They are... If there's a moral music to the universe, then they're dancing to its tune. Like this... all the fruits of their endeavours, their commitment to the unpopular line with the Westminster bubble, but what they knew to be right. Losing opportunities. We've had so many of our friends turn on us recently, and it's not just people that have done it publicly that we've worked with, you know, like Matt Goodwin and others, but there've been... There was a member of our group, our close personal group, actually, again, one of the guys that was basically a groomsman at my wedding, and they stabbed us all in the back. And I'm not gonna make it public because it's, you know, it's a personal matter, but ever since striking out on your own, it's been brutal. It's been sad, but it's all worth it because you realize you're vindicated in the end, and victory is in the air. Oh, Dave is in chat. Oh, incredible! Thank you, Dave. So, Dave, you're actually going to be interested in this, I hope. Dave the Distributist. Everyone should please go and subscribe to Dave's channel. Because the substance of actually what I wanted to talk about today is Dave's recent streams. This is really... A lot of strange coincidences are happening today. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because Dave has said some very profound things recently about the nature of political coalitions, and whether they should be based on a shared enemy or a shared topic, or some secret third thing. And I think what's been revealed over the last few weeks, with the victories of Restore and Great Yarmouth First and my friends, but also the outpouring of support as of today, with the announcement of 2 babies on the way, is that it is that secret third thing. It is politics as a character judgment. So what's prompted this? I've had a few disparate links put together. But what first prompted this was a number of months ago, about 3, Oren McIntyre did this excellent stream about how he's become disillusioned with pop culture. And this is something I think all of us have experienced. When was the last time any of you were excited for anything? Like, nobody's consuming product and getting excited about next product anymore, except for Eric Butts, that hideous, gelatinous blob that cries at every Disney Star Wars product. The rest of us are either revisiting our old haunts. For example, my wife had never played the Mass Effect trilogy, so we're actually now playing an hour a night. And we said we're gonna try and beat it before the babies arrive, because that's the last bit of rest we're gonna get. Or they've just checked out pop culture entirely. I mean, I've got my comic collection on the shelf. I've barely opened lots of it because I just don't get time anymore. And anytime I do, I get this nagging feeling that I'm doing something frivolous and I can't justify it. And what's helped is, of course, as Oron points out, that pop culture is now crap. You can feel the hidden hand of authorial intent coming through the screen, smacking you in the face with their propaganda, and so it stops you wasting your time for you, and it shouldn't be a waste of time. But you increasingly feel, and this is something that Dave covered in a stream about 3 months ago about the friendly local game store. You increasingly feel that from the 90s, these guys that knew everything about Star Trek or Warhammer, or in my case, DC Comics, they thought that they were doing something profound, something that mattered, that it was nourishing, and they derived a lot of joy from it. And I don't want to knock hobbies. And well, I might as well give you some even more good news. Comics Corner is coming back to Lotus Eaters, so I will be revisiting some of this stuff. Don't get me wrong. But there was a nagging feeling that this was Soma at the end of history, right? That grown men were engaging in recreational escapism because they had no greater pursuit, because all the big questions were settled, because you didn't know how good you had it. And I didn't even live through those times, by the way. I didn't get the late 80s and 90s, right? I'm an early Zoomer, I suppose you would say, 1998. So I missed the good times, but I saw the waning twilight of it. And now, that sense of solidarity is gone. The illusion is dispelled. Now, it's a bit like, what was the first Earthsea novel called? Chat, you can remind me. But it's a bit like when Ged the wizard goes to the wizard school and is casting actual proper magic in battles, whereas all of the other wizards are just trying to cast illusions to ingratiate themselves with the king's court. The illusion has fallen away, and we've seen the shadow. And the shadow is coming after us, and you can only dispel the shadow by naming things by their proper name. You can only get rid of the darkness by telling the truth. And sorry, I've just been distracted by someone in chat saying, "Congratulations, Spuds in the oven." I love how this chat now has its inside jokes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Wow, £50. Thank you. The generosity. Brilliant. That'll go towards buying a second cot, which I didn't think I was going to buy. Anyway, so what's happened now is we can't afford not to name the thing, because the shadow is following us everywhere. And the shadow will destroy everything we love. And the illusions that are cast either to keep us distracted and entertained, or because they caught some sort of temporary earthly power, because you're trying to play parlor tricks to ingratiate yourself with some temporary hierarchy and court favor with it, even though it isn't sustainable. It's empty, it's hollow. All those things don't matter anymore. What matters is doing the difficult thing. It's being pursued by the shadow and naming the threat so you can confront it. It's not an endless retreat into escapism. Unfortunately, the escapism has been so poisoned. The bread is stale and the circuses are gay, as Auron said. Fortunately, that has dispelled some of the illusions for us. And so it's forced us all to get very involved in politics. And in the last few months, I've been plagued by a kind of despondency. And I wonder if any of you get this as well. Which is, I am very interested in things. In policy, in philosophy, in bird's eye view analysis. And I'm not so interested, despite my coverage of the local elections, in Schadenfreude. I'm not so interested in team sports or vindictive point scoring. What I am interested in is feeling like I've contributed something meaningful. That's why I don't just churn out content. That's why you don't see like AI shorts from me. Any shorts that I've made is because I've sat there and made them and I thought they were interesting. This is why I write all my own stuff and my volume is slightly lower. This is why I try to focus as best I can on quality rather than quantity and novelty. And this is why whenever politics gets too personality-based, like quite WWE-ish, especially last year when they, ousted Rupert from Reform, or even after the Restore launch as a party when people were sort of bitching and infighting and calling each other names, I had this feeling of being contaminated by proximity, and I felt miserable. And it's partially because I've had a bit of a rough year, guys. I mean, the Spectator debate cancellation led me getting blacklisted from everywhere. I can't really publish anywhere except for Catholic Herald and American Conservative anymore. I've been banned from every TV station. It's not done wonders for my income. New Culture Forum cut our show because Peter died and they wanted to get back in Reform's good books again. And then my grandparents died, and so it's been rough all round. And that's one of the reasons I came back to Lotus Eaters, actually. So I'm going to be popping up on there now once a month, once every 6 weeks. And the reason is, I missed them. I didn't miss Wyndon, it's still a shithole. But I missed people having your back. I missed being surrounded by good people. People that I admired and who, frankly, know more than me on a bunch of things. And who have nothing to gain from me and therefore have no reason to exploit me. They just have my back. And I spent quite a long time since leaving last year doing various projects in Westminster, and nobody has your back. Lots of people have turned on it ever since the launch of my friend's party, Restore. And so you begin to get very disillusioned if you don't like dealing with people. And that's one of the reasons I never want to be a frontline politician. And I've spoken to some fairly high-profile friends in the last few days that have reiterated their advice to me, which I was in no danger of not taking, that I have the mind of... I don't have the temperament of a politician. I have the temperament of someone who's a bit more academic or philosophical. And so I follow ideas through to their logical conclusion without consideration of what they would say are practical constraints or, the art of the possible. I don't necessarily agree that what they think is possible is the full horizon of possibility. I think they have quite a limited parameter for what the public appetite is, but nevertheless. But one of the reasons I would never become a politician is you have to deal with people all the time. And just being one step removed from the worst people in Westminster makes me profoundly miserable. Unless I'm firing them en masse, I don't want to do it. So, all that to say, I've become very, very disillusioned with politics over the last little while. And I think the reason for that is because politics for far too long has been based on friend-enemy. And what Schmidt's fundamental political insight was, politics, in the final analysis, boils down to one faction that has a comprehensive vision of the good, fighting for survival against another that would like to eradicate it. But his point was, if it gets to that stage, it's undesirable. So if your politics breaks down to friend-enemy factionalism, then your state is in the precipice of dissolution, and that's why you need a centralized authority to bring in a state of exception, to reimpose order. He also said, by the way, don't be fooled by sort of squishy liberal centrism. Liberalism is a veil that is draped over these existential conflicts that are rumbling on in the background, pretending everything is neutral and fine, that we can still just talk about marginal tax rates and potholes and collecting the bins. I would like to go back to a country that just discusses those things. But someone's spamming in chat. Sorry. I don't have anyone as a moderator in the chat at the moment, I'm afraid. Anyway, I would like to go back to a country that just discusses those things. But we're not there. And we won't be for some time. And in order to get back to that place where we have the high trust background, a kind of like psychic map, the default assumption that we all have each other's interests at heart and that we're all basically the same. To get back to that place, you need to build a political coalition willing to exercise power in order to reinstate that order. And so we've been having this discussion sort of publicly and privately, I think, about what kind of political coalition needs to be built. And Dr. Nima Parvini, again, friend, we're all in this space, even though he keeps denouncing the dissident right. And I know Dave Green's now done about 3 streams on it, and I think he's sick to the back teeth of people denouncing the dissident right for completely different reasons. But nevertheless, we love the good doctor. He's our favourite rug salesman. Dr. Parvini made this video, and in it he said it was stupid not to get the point, not that me and Carl are stupid. I'd like to reiterate that. But in it he picked up on a political dynamic that he sees as central to the realignment of politics. I think it's fair to say, for Dr. Parvini, Zionism is the friend-enemy issue. Now, if we're gonna pick an issue, I think it's demographics. I think there are people that will argue those issues are linked. Nevertheless, let's set those arguments to one side. Dr. Parvini made this video to say that people that are still getting hung up on things like demographics or like opposing Islam are engaging in the middle tier of politics because they're constantly fighting the group below them. He uses Bertrand de Juvenel's model of higher, middle, lower politics, and the idea is that the higher tier of politics is sort of organised elite, if you will, weaponizes an underclass against the middle to squeeze them to keep their particular oligarchy in place. And so the example he used in his subsequent video to this is the Democrat Party using black Americans as a client class, and then every 4 years at the election when Republicans are likely to win, they'll kick the NGOs into overdrive and they'll burn down their own cities and call for defunding the police, and hey presto, the Democrats win. Or the Republicans have the client class inadvertently of the threat of Muslims or Islamism. And I would say they've discredited their own narrative here, including a substantial portion of the British so-called right who just focus on Islamism and try to separate it from, hypothetical moderate Islam that's never seems to manifest anywhere. But by saying that, okay, we need to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here, when in the final analysis it ends up being an invade then import strategy. That's why they discredited themselves. But nevertheless, Parvini's argument is that if our issue is not the oligarchy, unseating the oligarchy, then we will be constantly fighting with the client class and we will never get anywhere. So the fact of defining our political coalition needs to be a revolt against the establishment, which, in his analysis, is a Zionist establishment, and therefore the dividing line for politics should be Zionism and anti-Zionism. And that means that everyone from Tucker Carlson to Anna Kasparian to Nick Fuentes to Nima to Carl to me should all get on the same side. And this means, as we went back and forth on X, that we're going to have to put the dislike of Islam aside to, I don't know, abolish Zog or something. And the reason that doesn't sit right with anyone isn't just because I don't think it's sustainable. I mean, Nick has already abandoned the idea. Though Nick, entertaining broadcaster though he is, he there's a Nick Fuentes clip for everything, just like there's a Charlie Kirk tweet for everything, right? So who knows? Who knows what he thinks today? But the reason that won't work is because they have an incommensurate vision of the good to us, either out of habit or out of spite. And so, and this is why I think if it has to be issue-based, it has to be demographics, because Britain can be 100% Pakistani and they'll be really anti-Israel, but they won't be Britain. And, good doctor knows this. And the problem is not one shared enemy, as he has put forward. The problem is not one shared issue. The problem is whether or not you share a comprehensive, compatible, coherent vision of the good. And this vision of the good should emanate outwards in concentric circles. It's like the Catholic vision of love, order amoris. You extend moral consideration, the willing the good of the other, out to your immediate vicinity, and the further out it goes, the fuzzier it gets, because you don't know what's in the best interest of everyone. So, we should instead build our political coalitions around who shares our comprehensive vision of the good, and the ability to determine friends and enemies gets fuzzier the further out you go. And the ability to do so rests on a character judgment rather than it does on issues. And this is a point that Dave made in his excellent stream, just peerless stream 2 weeks ago. And I'll link it down in the description after this stream's done. I'm only going to do a short one today, but I'm going to obviously answer all your super chats. I can see them pouring in, so I will keep this short, don't worry. Dave made the point that if you went back to 2015 to 2017, and you were looking at the culture war, and you were to ask, which horse would you back at the time? Lauren Southern or Carl Benjamin? Now, this is not a slight to Lauren, I'd like to say. I've exchanged some messages with Lauren before. I'm not here to cast aspersions on her life choices. I hope that she's happy. I hope she raises her son healthy with a wonderful childhood. Political disagreements on given issues are besides the point. Dave's point was, if you went back to 2016, 2017, Lauren Southern had all the issues right. She was further to the right than plenty of people. Whereas Carl was the classical liberal. He was asking Richard Spencer if he'd ever read Locke. He was arguing with Jared Taylor. It'd be interesting to revisit that that episode. He was telling Stephen Crowder that Jesus was a communist and that's why he's an atheist. All these things. Carl at the time was, he would say now, on the wrong side of plenty of issues. But as a matter of character judgment, Dave points out that he would have always trusted Carl to have his back. And if you just look on the timeline about the people that have worked with Carl, that have been mentored by him, that have been given opportunities by him, anyone who works with Carl flourishes. Because he is a fundamentally good man. Carl Benjamin is one of the best men I've known. And I would not be the man today without his influence. Absolutely. And that's why we were both mutually so sad when I was leaving Lotus Eaters full time, and that's why he was actually really happy when I've come back for frequent visits. Carl's a good father. He's built great business. And he's just kept at it. And he's had the humility to course correct. He's done the reading. He's done the writing. In real time, he's developed his thought and had direct feedback. And everyone that meets Carl in live events or recognizing him in public has the same experience. And so, even though people might not be on the same page as you now, if you can build a political coalition based on character judgments, based on people who have humility and virtue, rather than just basing it on issues, your political coalition will be more stable and more successful. Because just sharing an enemy, just sharing an issue, is insufficient to keep it together. I mean, look at the temporary pact with the TERFs, for example. J.K. Rowling agrees with Zach Polanski on everything except Israel and what a woman is. Right? She was comparing Donald Trump to Voldemort. She was against Brexit. She was pro more migration, or at least doesn't speak about it now, despite it being the #1 women's rights threat, much more than trans. And as soon as the trans issue was... Well, as soon as you had a legal victory on the trans issue, it's not gone away. But as soon as the height of trans hysteria passed, suddenly you found out you didn't have much in common with the TERFs. And the same will happen with any temporary alliance with a client group of the regime that we are apparently told to fight against. The only side we can take is our own. And our own side should be, as the Founding Fathers originally wrote of America's immigration policy, freeborn citizens of good moral character. And I think that's what's manifesting right now. I think today has proven that. I think this is the start of the victory in Britain for good men. All of these men are good men. And they're all normal. Okay, maybe more or less, you know. Harrison does tend to waffle on a bit. Charlie has the energy of a hamster on Red Bull, and Lewis is racked with far too much self-doubt for a man that handsome. But nevertheless, they're all good men. And Charlie's married, you know, Rupert's been married for 40 years, has kids and grandkids. There's not an archive of blackmailable dirt on them. You know, I'm sure I've done stupid stuff in my history, and if ever an embarrassing photo leaks of me, well, I hope I look good in it. But nevertheless, I'm not walking around with, like, an endless amount of baggage that can be weaponized against me, because fundamentally, unlike most of the Tory party and the people that have, you know, migrated into other parties, I don't stay up all night going to weird chemsex orgies. I don't cheat on my wife. I don't have a drink or a drug problem. I'm not involved in some weird intel op. And I'm not going to keep my mouth shut to have a column with Unheard or a GB News show that's interrupted every 15 minutes for ad breaks dangled in front of me. These aren't men that stay quiet about the destruction of their country for short-term gain. These are good men. And that's what I think this political coalition has been built on. That's why a lot of us, and it was to no advantage, by the way, at the time, came out and said that what Reform had done to Rupert was wrong. Because we just saw that the actions themselves were wrong. We'd met Rupert once, basically. Barely knew him from Adam. We made a good character judgment. Because he was humble. He sat there and he listened to us for over an hour, and a man of his station, his seniority, an elected MP in the party that was then topping the polls in late 2024, you know, surging up, he heard our complaints and said, lads like you should be involved in the political vehicle that's trying to save the country. Even though we were whinging at him. That was a good man. And so we backed a good man. And now those good men have got their first victory, and they have got a sweeping victory. For those who didn't see, again, 40 to 50% of the vote for each candidate. That's a blowout. What that is a proof of concept. That shows you that whatever Restore have done with their ground game, taking the very online right into the real world, it works. And it'll work for by-elections, and you need to scale it up to a general. But it works because it's based on goodwill. Because thousands of people just gave up he's a good man. Not because they're angling for a job, or because it's easy, or because there's even any money in it. They just think he's a good man. They think all the men around him are good men. And they are. And what I think we need is the triumph of the good men. And you only are victorious with good men if you base your political coalition on good men. Not on one given issue, not on a temporary alliance with the ambassadors, the change agents weaponized against you to displace you of your own country. Because forming a political coalition with good men, and women, of course, doesn't require you to constantly swallow the lump in your throat that tells you this is wrong, that demoralizes you, that causes you to feel contaminated by proximity to such people. Instead, it can feel even the harshest of pessimists with a little bit of hope. And so, and I'll read your super chats in a second. I wanted to finish on this excellent meme from Mr. Dave Green. Again, everyone go and watch Dave's stuff. It's Dave, Carl Benjamin, Aura McIntyre, and Stefan Molyneux, who are my constant content watching at the moment. Everything they put out, I watch. It's very nourishing. Dave pointed this out. To be a right-wing content creator, you need to navigate through the Scylla and Charybdis of slop and crashing out, and also you need to avoid the sirens and the harpies, basically the Sarah Stocks of the world. I actually congratulated her on her marriage and her engagement. I mean, how much of a mug do I feel, right? But this applies for everyone. if you're going to get involved in putting your faith in people to restore our country, our civilizations, right? This applies just as much for America or even, hell, Canada, if you can stop it from turning into Calcutta, Australia, New Zealand, Europe. This applies for all of us. You need to chart the course between motivated reasoning, sort of cheering on what Dr. Baldini would call rightoid sloppulism. Vote your way out of this, or just constantly ankle biting because good men aren't doing exactly what you want. Place your faith in them. They'll get there. In the meantime, stay the course. And this won't be any worse, by the way, than anything Christopher Nolan cooks up with that abortion of an Odyssey movie. Anyway, I'm going to read your super chats. Hopefully that was interesting. I just thought I've had these thoughts while I was listening to all of these nourishing pieces of content while I was in the gym, and maybe it was just the blood rushing to my head and I made no interesting points whatsoever, but hopefully I did. Where's the fan funding tab? Wow, you've all been so generous. Thank you very much. Dylan for £5, thank you. Congrats to Connor and his wife, brilliant news, true. For $5, Ev King, congrats on the twins. Just hope the shirt will accommodate them. Name suggestion: Benedict and Scholastica. So we've got a couple of names picked out. I won't reveal them just because I don't want to prejudice the naming before I meet my own kids. But nevertheless, we have some very solid names. Oh, thank you, Dave. Dave, really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to your next stream. Voice for England, £2. Congratulations, Connor. Fatherhood will suit you. Well, I hope so. I'm not gonna get a good night's sleep for the next 2 to 3 years, and you're probably gonna hear crying in the backgrounds of my videos and streams. But it's absolutely gonna be worth it. I mean, being candid with you, it's a little bit worrying because my wife had to leave a lost job, circumstances I can't disclose. And so she's now, self-employed, and she helps me out with a few bits. So we've got no maternity pay, and as you can imagine, we're going through quite the economic crisis in England at the moment, and I'm trying to pay my mortgage on just my YouTube salary because all of my other projects and things fell through. Which, hey, some friends stab you in the back. But, hopefully, again, stay the course. I think this will be a successful year, and I'm going to do my best to look after them. Anyway, Canastria, 30 bit, thank you very much. Keep fighting the good fight. Appreciate it. Proportion, Chloe, good to see you. We need to record a piece of content now that I'm back at Lotus, I think. We need to do something. Can't stay for the stream, but congrats, keep fighting. Appreciate it. You too. BJM for £5. Congratulations, Connor. Having twins is the most amazing life experience you will ever be fortunate and blessed to have. Our girls are going on 4. Yes, well, so I think we've got a boy and a girl. Not confirmed yet, but that's what has been suggested. Twins don't run in the family, as far as I was aware. I mean, I was told that on the peripheries we've had a few, but this isn't something that we thought was going to happen. But it does explain why my wife is hungry and tired and nauseous and energetic and grumpy and, well, all the time. Immortal for £20, thank you. Congratulations on your news, mate. My wife is 20 weeks pregnant with our 4th child. Well, congratulations, sir. Terry Schilling has just had his 8th. I went on a trip with Terry last year. He was a fellow Catholic who did not kiss the wall. But we spent a week together with some other Brits and Americans out in Israel. We both went because we wanted to see the holy sites before they were shut or bombed to rubble, and I think we're pretty glad we did. I mean, when we went round, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was empty. Totally empty. So we got to see Golgotha, we got to see Christ's tomb, the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. I got to see St. Jerome's tomb in Bethlehem. Phenomenal, right? Unforgettable experience. No matter what one's feelings on the current conflict going on that I don't support are, or even one's feelings about the country itself. Absolutely phenomenal. And Terry has had 8, and he's still encouraging people to have more. So, anytime that I feel like, I've got it difficult because, my kids will be keeping me up, I've got nothing on Terry. Oh, Young Elm, thank you for being a member for a month. The question is, with the win of today's election, do we think Reform's incredibly broad and contrary coalition is going to fracture within the next few years? So I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, but I found it very interesting that Zia Youssef decided to remind everyone that the expiration date for Tories to defect was yesterday. And I think what Reform are going to hope is that people are going to memory hole the Tory defectors over the next few years. And they have purposefully not given Nadim Zahawi the Foreign Affairs Spokesperson Award position. Yes, I am drinking milk. Wonderful. They have purposefully not given him that, because you can't have that many Tories front and centre and expect people to think you are not the Uniparty. I think they're going to have to drop Lena Cunningham. Look, I've spoken to people that used to work with her in the Tory party, actually, and they said she was an absolute nightmare. I've spoken with people that have worked with her in Millbank Tower, and they know that she is shrill and rude and petulant. Apparently, she's the person that got me banned from the party personally. I don't suppose she enjoyed me ratioing her the other day. But she's an embarrassment. I mean, she came to my local area in London. It's a very winnable seat for Reform, and they lost pretty much every seat by a narrow margin, and it's because their ground game sucked. They didn't send out any leaflets. They didn't do any door knocking. The only letters I got were from Central HQ, where they've clearly, data harvested somewhere and then sent them out to everyone. And the only leaflets had Farrage's face on it, whereas the local Tories had the local candidates' faces on there. They had the areas they live in, the parks that they go to, the kids' schools. They had specific issues to the area, and that's why they won. And they're white English candidates, whereas Reform had Layla Cunningham lead a merry band of minorities around, giving out leaflets in Bexley Heath High Street. Same in Bromley. Sorry, the entire point of this outer London area is to not be part of Greater London. They actually want to secede from Greater London. They hate Sadiq Khan. They hate the diversity. They don't like the fact that there are bus routes through their area that they've paid quite a bit to live in, to live away from said diversity. They're basically Kent, and so they don't actually want an Egyptian Muslim leading a large congregation of Indians around saying, vote Reform. So I do think that Reform's coalition can't sustain as it stands. That's partly the reason why they've subsided in the polls, and they're going to have to make significant improvements. And I think they're feeling the hot breath of Restore Britain after today. Because don't forget, they had a very complicated scheme cooked up to, quote, strangle the Restore baby in the crib. And I leaked that because I got forwarded it by some sources in Millbank Tower. The Millbank Tower walls have ears, and they're very large because they're mine. So we know that they tried to throw a lot of resources at killing Restore Britain off, and they failed so spectacularly that Great Yarmouth First got every seat they were running in. So, with in the halls of the Mountain King slowly building in the background, they're going to have to make some adjustments, because all their votes lie to their right. Not Johnny W for $10, thank you. Congrats on the twins, Connor. I'm visiting Britain on the 13th and visiting a friend in London on the 16th. I assume you're going to Mr. Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally. Looking forward to it, and best of luck for a store from the USA. If I might suggest, you steer clear of London most of the time. Not because of the rally, just because London sucks. I would suggest visiting Bath, Canterbury, and probably Oxford as well. There's some northern towns that are quite nice as well, but I can't really speak on those because I haven't really been to them. Shaker Silver, familiar face from the Lotus Eaters for $5 Canadian. Grats. Much as I have disagreements, I appreciate your insight, work ethic, and honesty. Well, I don't know what you would disagree with. I'm basically right about everything, except when I'm not. Anyway, I hope that I provide some entertainment. Look, at least you know that you're always getting my honest and unfiltered opinion. I've never said something that I don't believe. I might have said some stupid things, but I've never said something I don't believe. Mr. Jalar, $5. Congratulations on fatherhood, thank you. Catholic American, 30-year-old father of 3 here, praying for you and your difficult but blessed future. Thank you, sir. Everyone keeps emphasizing the difficulty. It's also incredible how many Catholics are in America right now. There's a true Catholic ascendancy in the US, and it's happening in the administration among guys our age. It's not just the guys that watch Nick. It's mainline Protestantism in Britain and America has been an insufficient bulwark against the capture of their churches by various ideologies, whether it's progressivism, whether it's dispensationalist theology and neoconservative politics. And so despite Pope Leo's wet statements on migration and his consecration of an ice block like some sort of pagan memorial and his delivery of a bloody wreath to the graves of Algerian revolutionaries that murdered Catholics. Despite that, the Catholic Church itself as an institution is venerable. And so, I think we're seeing a lot of converts because men just want to return to tradition and hierarchy, and they want to shoulder these burdens. I think it's safe to say I'm going to be shouldering a few burdens in in the coming months. I'm going to lose a lot of sleep over making sure these kids are okay. But hey, that's what the gym's for, right? I can carry them. I'm going to have one on each shoulder. Sheila Powell, thank you for becoming a member. Reece Shaw for £20, thank you, sir. For the kids and the missus, thanks for all you do, mate. Appreciate you fighting the good fight for us. All the best and congrats. You're truly blessed. True, I certainly am. Thank you, sir. Anonymous Zuma, patriot. Currently a uni student having to blend in with everyone aside from a good friend of mine. Wish we didn't have to fear being so ostracized. I appreciate you being so well-spoken about these topics, mate. Well, so, okay, don't take this advice, because I don't want to be responsible for it. And there are people posting encouraging things underneath your super chat. I didn't hide my power level at university, and I'm where I am. Now, it shouldn't be the case that you have to hide your power level, and there also should be institutions that make use of this well-educated, often autodidactic, often educated against the grain, young, largely white male talent. Nevertheless, I didn't keep it quiet. I got persecuted by my university. They fined us for security costs. They threatened to not let us graduate. All because we held some debates and made some edgy jokes in the group chat. Right? Fuck them. I also, at the same time, while that was all going on, that massive tribunal, I was having my essays marked down for political reasons, for being insufficiently anti-feminist, for threatening the ideas that the careers of the markers were based on. So, it was rough. And then, at the same time, I had my ex-girlfriend, who I was living with, up and try to steal my possessions, make off with my savings, and try to sue me for the very computer that I'm using to stream now. You got the last laugh, sweetheart. And all that's to say, I'd do it all again. I'd do it all again. Because I wouldn't be as refined in my thinking if I weren't honest. Name the problem, or the shadow will follow you around forever. Most aggressive. Thank you for the $50. This is very generous. I really appreciate it. Way to go, young blood. Keep the kids coming. Yeah, well, let's try not to have too many twins on the dot. Local Roundhead. Subscriber. Thank you very much. Substack is linked down in the description. I'm putting out as many free essays as I can, because hopefully they're interesting ideas. The latest one is on Keir Starmer's extensive Marxist past, and I rushed to get it finished in time for the local elections, just in case, in the unlikely incident that he did resign. It looks like they're going to try and force him out, but the Starminator is going to stay in. And I hope he does, by the way, because he's a boon to whichever party to his right is seeking to unseat him at the next election. The longer he's in, the more of a known quantity, an enemy that we have occupying Downing Street, the better it is for us. I mean, if Angela Rayner or Ed Miliband get in, God help us. Anyway, Look Aroundhead says, as a former Liberal, I was always put off conservative politics by sneering negative right-wingers. It seemed to me that good men do not inhabit the political right. Thank you for changing my mind. Well, I appreciate it. A lot of it is this attitude of snobbishness that has kept the establishment from the necessary pain of examining their ideological priors for a very long time. This is a sort of Fraser Nelson attitude, right? It's very lowbrow and gauche to talk about demographics. Of course Rishi Sunak is English. Oh, of course immigration is going really well. No. Actually, you need to confront these horrors. You need to name the problem. Otherwise, you are consumed by the shadow. And you know what? I think it might be that there's actually a lot less funding floating around the British right. There's a lot less astroturfing. So there are a lot of people that are like part of the institutions of the British right, even the ostensible alternative media ones, you know, like a lot of podcasters and things like that, that are just adjacent to the Paul Marshall Network, who are being bankrolled. And I know lots of these people don't write their own Substacks, they're fed notes by their producers, they don't even put their own guests, and I'm not casting shade on any individual person. Like, I've met some of these people and they're perfectly nice, and, you know, they're congratulating me on the baby, so I'm not gonna be rude. What I think is, you're seeing an ascendant, initially online, but now well-networked right, who have taught themselves, who can back up what they say, and who were never in the establishment, so aren't worried about being kicked out of the club, and so are willing to say the difficult things. So anyway, what I'm saying is, I think what is now the new right is unrecognisable, because by process of elimination, by those reprehensible character traits, they weeded out all the best men, and they created a rival power faction, which is now biting them in the arse. And this is why, look, I don't want to bash on the good people in Reform. There are plenty of good people in Reform in Millbank Tower. Like, James Orr's still a good man. I don't want to cause him any trouble. But some of the people in Reform are just the same bandwagon jumpers and vacuous, arrogant, hedonistic, auraless twinks that a couple of years ago was swanning around saying, I'll be Prime Minister by the time I'm 25. Okay, you just delusional fuckwit. Like, sorry, I just don't have time for these people. They're totally unserious. Can we just have normal men in charge for a change? Like, guys that have families and that have done things. This is one of the reasons, by the way, I shouldn't be a politician. I'm actually a decent analyst, I think. I tend to get things right. Just my instincts tend to be correct. But I don't think I'm qualified to be a politician, even if I had the temperament for it, because I haven't built anything. I haven't run anything. Like, I've got, got my own business, and nevertheless, it's not the scale of experience as a Rupert or a Duncan Bannatyne or Carl, frankly. So, anyway, random ramblings. 50 Canadian dollars from Dryfee. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. I wish you success and many happy years. And ideally, when the UK gets back on track, that hopefully my country will follow suit. Well, yes, sir. Hopefully Britain is restored. Nevertheless, if things do go tits up for the Anglosphere, I think Restore Britain is looking at an Anglosphere right of return policy. I don't want to get Harrison in trouble, but I know he is drafting a legal migration policy. And I think the only form of legal migration we're going to be allowing are spousal visas from approved countries like Western Europe, a couple of East Asian countries, so Dan will be happy, and stringent requirements placed on visas from the Anglosphere. What kind of American? But it would be great to have a right of return policy for the Aussies that have went over a couple of generations ago. The what was it, £10 POMs that went over in the 70s and 80s. Hey, we've got a birth dearth, and we need skilled workers. Why can't we just have our own people come back? Claire LFC, please can you confirm or deny is Rupert Lowe speaking at the Unite the Kingdom? If not, why not? Send a message to the establishment. I hope he is. Please tell him. I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about it personally. As far as I can understand, I mean, again, Rupert, you won't catch Rupert Lowe denouncing anybody unless they've personally attacked him or something. As far as I can understand, Rupert's happy with Tommy to crack on with whatever Tommy Robinson does best, because, I mean, again, he's been correct on the grooming gangs. I think he and Tommy had a different position on the Iran war. I don't know if that will cause any disagreements, but he hasn't voiced any when Jacob Rees-Mogg pressed on it. The only thing that I think would be a barrier, and again, I'm not speaking on Rupert's behalf, I haven't spoken to him about it, honestly. We've all been, all the lads that I've spoken to in the last, few weeks and that, they've all been in campaign mode so much I haven't really seen my friends very much, other than when they came around to my house for drinks and to celebrate this news when I told them a couple of weeks ago. The only thing I think is that there are people within the sphere of the Unite the Kingdom movement who have been needlessly disparaging to figures in Restore Britain. And I mean, making personal attacks. Like, I know Carl's speaking at the Unite the Kingdom, so it's clearly not that much of an issue. But, Richard Inman is a friend of Robinson's, and I assume he's involved in arranging Unite the Kingdom, and he kept spreading the lie that Rupert had dementia, and he was calling myself and Carl and Downs and everyone involved in Restore Britain all sorts of names. I know Paul Thorpe didn't agree, because Paul's a nice chap. He reached out to me and we had a chat. Very gentlemanly. But I think it's hard to build that kind of coalition when, again, you've got good men who don't pick fights, and on the other side, you've got, and I'm sorry to say it, like, Ben Habib, who's known us for years and decides to go, Restore a full-tilt racist, and they're evil ethno-nationalists. It's like, Ben, you could have texted me. I've had drinks with your son. So what I want to emphasize here, anyway, besides the Unite the Kingdom rally, look, I don't know if he's going to speak, is we should be doing things on the grounds of honesty and integrity, and we shouldn't torpedo our long-standing friendships because we feel that we have some sunk political cost in one project or another. And by the way, right now, it's very clear, with the sweep of Great Yarmouth First, with the thousands of people that came out to campaign for Rupert, with the slick graphics, besides that bloody eyesore of a text wall that I told them never to post again, with the policies that are coming out, and with the massive membership, like 135 or so thousand people, all the other marginal parties are just not going to be it. Like, sorry, this time around, it's just not going to be the case. Like, you're not the guys. That's okay. You can probably pull in the same direction. You might well be really nice people in person. Like, I've met some of these people. You know, you might be honourable chaps, right? But your individual marginal splinter party project is just not it at the moment. It doesn't have the mandate. And the one that seems to, of all of these outrider movements that aren't reform, is restore. And so I would just encourage people to put their efforts into the viable vehicle led by good men. Thank you from Sano for the double $1.99 donations. Excellent. Right, I'm just going to quickly look at the chat for the last few minutes. There's a spammer, is there? Oh, brilliant. Someone's trying to say there needs to be a pact between Pakistan and England. Literally never. How about that? How about when Pakistan repatriates all of their child rapists, then I'll consider not holding your entire nation in contempt. How about that? Anyway. How are you all? I'm just gonna take one cursory look and wait. I'm seeing lots of congratulations. I'm seeing lots of people saying based. Thank you very much. Anyway, I've got a good feeling about it. I think Restore needs to scale up now, and they've got the momentum and the goodwill to do so. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Rupert doing a massive media blitz. I think I'm going to sit down with Rupert at some point in the near future and do another chat, so that'll be encouraging. I think it's all going to go well. I really think that we're going to win. Anyway, I'll leave you all to it. Do a short one tonight. But thank you all so much. There'll be a video out tomorrow morning on the local elections. It's going to be funny. We're gonna look at some of the reform candidates that I was covering in the last few weeks who didn't win, thankfully. By the way, I just want everyone to know that I was sick to death of doing videos on reform. They just kept coming out with really embarrassing footage. And the reason I feel the need to do so is because reform are at the top of the polls. If they're the next government, you need to police what they're going to do. There's no point me sitting there bashing the Tories and the Lib Dems. Like, I might bring it up as a joke, but who cares? Nobody's going to watch a full video on that because they're irrelevant. Labour? Fuck them. They're not going to be even a party at the next election. The Greens, okay, it's worth monitoring to see the direction of the left, but also because the Greens are surging because they're identifying problems that are relevant, but that have terrible solutions. They promise to make the problems they recognise worse. So, it's worth going on about the Greens. But it's worth holding Restore's feet to the fire. Dear God, there's a lot of spam in this chat. There's worth holding Reform's feet to the fire, because otherwise, if they have purged everyone from their head office that is willing to tell them uncomfortable truths, and everyone else is going to hold their tongue because they're afraid of losing out on a job or a safe seat or something, and so doesn't give them the necessary criticism, then they're just going to be shit. If they win, then all of their errors will compound as problems for us. So, again, you know, there's someone very senior in Reform that's disappointed that I'm not in Reform, and it's because I couldn't hold my tongue. So, anyway, look, I think we're going to win. I think we can do it. I don't know why there is someone from Pakistan, presumably, that is just spamming in my chat, but I would assume it's because all of your ancestors are cousins and you don't have any impulse control. And I'm not surprised that you're only using emojis, probably because you can't spell. Anyway, how do I turn on subscribers and participants? I don't know how to do that, I'm afraid. I have no idea how to do that. I will look into it. Anyway, thank you all. Yeah, people are saying boomer. I have no idea. Okay, someone tell me. Thank you all very much for watching. I am gonna go and have a rest. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Until then, take care. God bless. And goodbye.